The superpower nobody told you about, why being soft is the bravest thing a Black woman can do. Welcome to the Soft Girl Era podcast, where we unlearn survival and rediscover the sacred art of softness. I'm your host, LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French. And I'm your guide from burnout to boundaries, from doing to being, from strong to soft, and loving every second of it. Today, I had the incredible opportunity to sit down with Zakiya Ramos, a powerful voice in the movement to redefine what strength means for Black women. Zakiya is doing the work that changes lives, challenging the narratives that have kept Black women trapped in cycles of self sacrifice and exhaustion. Through her advocacy and insights, she's helping Black women reclaim their right to be soft, to rest, to receive care, and to live in their feminine energy without shame or apology. Her work is reshaping how we understand resilience, caregiving, and what it truly means to be strong. And what we discussed, what Zakiya shared with me during our interview, is going to shift something in you today. Because here's what we're going to talk about: the strong Black woman narrative, the invisible labor, the double standards, the cost of carrying everyone else while denying yourself softness, and most importantly, why you deserve to live differently. Let's start here. You know that feeling when you're holding everything together, when you're the one everyone calls when things fall apart, when you're managing everyone's emotions, everyone's schedules, everyone's crises, and somehow you're still expected to show up with a smile and say you're fine. Yeah, that feeling has a name. It's called the strong Black woman script, and it's killing us. Research shows that this narrative, this belief that Black women must be unbreakable and never ask for support, is directly linked to reduced help seeking behavior, higher emotional burden, and poorer health outcomes. When you internalize the message that vulnerability is weakness, you're not building resilience, you're building a cage. And the bars of that cage are made of all the times you said yes when you meant no, all the times you carried someone else's weight while your own knees buckled, all the times you swallowed your pain because you didn't want to be seen as weak. During my conversation with Zakiya Ramos, we talked about how this script doesn't just affect individual women, it shapes entire communities. It determines who gets care and who gets expected to provide it. It decides who gets to be soft and who gets told to be strong. And spoiler alert, Black women always end up on the wrong side of that equation. The goal here isn't to abandon strength. The goal is to redefine it. Real strength is the courage to be soft, to rest, to receive care without shame. Real strength is saying, I need help, and meaning it. Real strength is choosing yourself even when the world tells you that's selfish. Now, let's talk about what this looks like in real life, because theory is great, but we need to see how this plays out in actual relationships, actual marriages, actual day to day existence. Gucci Mane and his wife, Keisha Kawar, did an interview on The Breakfast Club where they talked about navigating serious mental illness in their marriage. Gucci has been open about living with schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. And during the interview, Keisha described her role as his primary support system. She monitors his sleep patterns, she watches his food intake, she manages his social media consumption, she coordinates his psychiatric care, she removes triggers, she provides emotional scaffolding every single day. And the public celebrated her, called her a model spouse, praised her strength, said she was ride or die. But here's what nobody asked: who's taking care of Keisha? Because throughout that entire interview, Keisha kept saying she doesn't need mental health support. She said, and I quote, she is the therapist. And that right there, that's the strong Black woman script in action. That's the belief that asking for help is failure. That's the internalized message that Black women don't get to be vulnerable, don't get to be tired, don't get to need care. Nearly two-thirds of caregivers report experiencing moderate to high emotional stress. Among those caring for loved ones with serious challenges, about 32% experience clinically significant mental distress themselves. That's not a small number. That's not an exception. That's the rule. And yet, when Black women perform this kind of invisible labor, when they carry the emotional weight of entire households and relationships, their contributions remain largely invisible and unexamined. Gucci received visible support and care. Keisha's sacrifices were romanticized. The public celebrated her strength without questioning the cost to her own well being. This is what Zakiya Ramos and I discussed during our interview. This double standard, where Black women are expected to be caregivers, emotional anchors, and support systems, while other women are encouraged to prioritize their own needs, where Black women are praised for sacrifice, while other women are celebrated for self care. And let me be clear, this isn't about tearing down Keisha. This is about examining the cultural script that tells Black women they don't deserve softness. That tells them asking for help is weakness. That tells them their value is measured by how much they can endure. Because here's the truth, you cannot pour from an empty cup. Prioritizing your own mental health, rest, and softness is how you sustain not just yourself, but everyone around you. Now let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Because this isn't just about individual relationships, this is a systemic. The strong Black woman narrative has deep historical roots. It emerged from survival strategies during slavery and systemic oppression. Over generations, it evolved into a cultural ideal that celebrates Black women's resilience, independence, and ability to handle everything. And yes, that narrative offered short term psychological resilience in historical contexts. But in modern times, it functions as a barrier to mental health care and self compassion. Black women face multiple intersecting challenges when it comes to prioritizing their own mental health. First, there are internalized cultural scripts that equate asking for help with weakness. Second, there are inequitable health systems that have historically mistreated and dismissed Black women's health concerns. Third, there are societal expectations that Black women must be caregivers and support systems for others before themselves. And fourth, there's a lack of culturally competent mental health resources. These barriers combine to create a situation where Black women are especially vulnerable to self neglect, even when they experience significant emotional distress. And that's not a personal failure, that's a systemic problem. Mental health advocates and researchers focusing on Black women are actively working to reframe the narrative around resilience and strength. They're challenging the strong Black woman script and replacing it with a new understanding. That vulnerability is not weakness, that asking for help is an act of courage, that self care is not selfish but essential. Organizations like the Black Women at Edinburgh Society are creating spaces where Black women can explore what it means to be soft, to receive care, and to prioritize their own well being without guilt or shame. They're dismantling the narrative that Black women must choose between being effective leaders and being soft, vulnerable, and cared for. They're recognizing that Black women's activism and leadership have historically been framed through a lens of toughness and relentless struggle. While this framing honors the real sacrifices Black women have made, it also perpetuates the idea that Black women cannot afford softness, that vulnerability is a luxury, and that rest is a betrayal of the cause. And this is where the soft girl era comes in. Because what we're talking about here isn't just a trend, it's a lifestyle rebellion. It's a deep exhale from the Superwoman script. It's a quiet but powerful return to softness, rest, self trust, and radical joy. Zakiya Ramos shared something with me during our interview that I can't stop thinking about. She said that softness and femininity are not character flaws. They are your birthright. The expectation that Black women apologize for wanting partnership, reciprocity, and care while other women are celebrated for the same desires is a double standard rooted in systemic devaluation. You deserve to live in your feminine energy without being labeled weak or entitled. Setting boundaries around 50-50 relationships or refusing to stay down with a man isn't selfishness. It's self preservation and self respect. And I know some of you are sitting there thinking, but what about loyalty? What about standing by your partner? What about being supportive? Here's what I want you to understand: supporting someone does not mean sacrificing yourself, loving someone does not mean losing yourself. Being loyal does not mean being a doormat. You can be soft and still have boundaries. You can be feminine and still demand reciprocity. You can be loving and still prioritize your own well being. Because the truth is, taking care of yourself is not selfish, it's essential. The invisible labor of caregiving, emotional support, and sacrifice that Black women perform daily has measurable health consequences. And you cannot sustain anyone else if you don't sustain yourself first. The work that Zakiya Ramos is doing, the conversations we're having, the movement toward reclaiming softness. This isn't about abandoning Black culture. It's not about rejecting strength. It's about expanding our definition of what strength means. It's about recognizing that the same culture that taught us to survive also taught us that we don't deserve to thrive. And we're saying no to that. We're saying we deserve rest, we deserve care, we deserve softness, we deserve to be held, we deserve to receive, we deserve to live in our feminine energy without shame, without apology, without explanation. You are not required to carry everyone else at the expense of yourself. You are not required to be strong all the time. You are not required to sacrifice your own well being to prove your worth. You are allowed to be soft. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to ask for help. You are allowed to prioritize yourself. You are allowed to live in your soft girl era. So here's what I'm asking you to do: not next month, not when things calm down, not when you finally have time, right? Now, I want you to identify one relationship, one responsibility, one commitment in your life where you've been performing the strong Black woman role at the expense of your own peace. Maybe it's the friend who only calls when they need something. Maybe it's the family member who expects you to show up for everyone, but never shows up for you. Maybe it's the partner who's comfortable letting you carry everything while they carry nothing. Maybe it's the job that demands your best while giving you their least. And I want you to choose softness instead. Say no without a paragraph of explanation. Ask for help without apologizing for needing it. Rest without earning it first. And says, set a boundary and hold it even when people are upset. Choose yourself even when it feels uncomfortable. Because every time you choose softness, you're not just changing your own life, you're rewriting the script for every Black woman who's watching. You're showing your daughter, your niece, your sister, your friend that they don't have to break themselves to be valuable. You're proving that softness is not surrender, it's strength in its most honest form. The world will tell you that being soft makes you weak, that asking for help makes you a burden, that prioritizing yourself makes you selfish. The world is lying. Being soft when the world demands you be hard, that's revolutionary. Resting when the world says you haven't earned it, that's resistance. Choosing yourself when everyone expects you to choose them, that's power. Your softness is not a character flaw, it's your superpower. And the moment you stop apologizing for it is the moment everything changes. So go ahead, be soft, rest without guilt, ask for help, set boundaries, choose yourself, live in your feminine energy, reclaim your joy, protect your peace. and watch how your entire world transforms when you finally give yourself permission to be exactly who you were always meant to be. Not strong, not struggling, not surviving, soft, whole, free.